Good afternoon, parents. Good afternoon, scholars. Good afternoon, guardians, all those involved in your children's learning. I'm Miss Safford. Welcome back to my channel. Just a quick update on some things that are going on this week. So, a new development, something that actually started last week that I don't believe all parents got to know about, is every Wednesday, your child will be taking a math weekly quiz. So the purpose of the weekly quiz is just to see how well your scholar is internalizing the information that they're learning from that Thursday on to the following Tuesday. So every Wednesday, there's not a new math lesson that's being taught. It's simply a weekly quiz that sort of encompasses the last few things. We have not been sending those home just because we want to try and make sure that we're getting accurate data to find the best ways to help your scholars move forward. But we do have all of your scholars' weekly quizzes, and if you would like to follow up with either myself or the other teacher in the room just to get an update on how your child is doing, we absolutely can make a copy and send one home. But you will be getting all of the term one assessments during parent-teacher conferences. Another update for this week specifically, yesterday, your scholars took, no, today, in this class particularly, your scholars took their spelling test. So they will be getting their new spelling words today. And we're going to be going over those spelling words more in depth in skills or our phonics block tomorrow. And actually, this new spelling words for next week are in the homework packet. So if you open up this week's homework packet that says week of October 3rd, this is a list of spelling words that your scholars already took the spelling test for. So the first word is yelled. That is the previous list. This is the list of spelling words that they will have for the next spelling test. All of these words end in ing. So your scholar in skills is really going to be learning on what to do when you're adding ing to a word. I don't want to jump too much into the rule now because we're going to be learning about that in phonics, but I will say that scholars will have to notice a pattern with how I turn hope. I'll just show you. So one of the things that scholars are really going to be focusing on is notice what I did when I turned hope into hoping, and then noticing what I did when I turned hop into hopping. So if you are with your scholar now, just out of curiosity, pause the video, ask your child, what do you notice is different with how I turn hope into hoping and hop into hopping? If they don't get it, once again, this is something that we're going to be doing in skills starting tomorrow. We're going to really dive deep into the new spelling words so we can also work on what your child notices. I know the last time I did the video, I believe it was for math. I'm going to do another math video just because what we're learning in math is really, really heavy. And it's something that I'm noticing a lot of scholars in the class are struggling with, which is absolutely okay. I can give a lot more strategies on how to do it because we've already taught the lesson. And I think this will be really, really helpful for parents when you're trying to help your scholar, if you feel like you're trying to help your scholar. The first thing I want to bring your attention to is a phrase that you may have heard your child saying before, and that phrase is called sticks and dots. So sticks and dots is exactly what it sounds like. It's a representation skill that we use, or a solving skill that we use in second grade, where students are able to represent a number. So let's say that my number is 16. The sticks represent the tens, and the dots represent the ones. The reason why we call it sticks and dots is Hold on, I wanted to see if I could find something, and I did bring it home with me. The reason that we call the sticks the tens is because the sticks are they're an illustrated representation of a 10 stick. This is what we use in the class, and this is what is available in the class. It's called a 10 stick. If you look closely at the 10 stick, how many ones or how many spaces do you see in the 10 stick? You can pause the video here and just have your scholar tell you really quickly. Your scholar should say that there's 10 ones in the 10 stick. Let's count together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So instead of actually having a scholar draw out 10 sticks or 10 spaces inside a stick, we make it really easy and represent it with a stick. The dots represent the individual cubes when they're not connected to the 10 stick. So when it's just a simple centimeter cubes, and those represent the ones. So if I'm representing the number 16, I would have one stick to represent the tens place, and I would put 6 dots to represent the ones place. So the number 16, if I'm representing it in sticks and dots, will look like this. You may have seen your scholar drawing this, and your scholar actually may do a really good job of being able to represent sticks and dots or represent numbers using sticks and dots. It gets a little bit tricky when it's time to regroup. Right now, we're learning to regroup tens into ones and ones into tens, and that is a really complex idea that scholars are struggling with. So I'm going to give an example of the different ways that we can regroup and what exactly it means. Here, I've drawn a sticks and dots chart, and I'm going to show the various different ways that scholars can learn to represent the same number using sticks and dots and then regrouping. So my number is 24. Right now in my sticks and dots chart, I've put 24 dots. Most of you will not see your scholars doing this, but if you do, what we're trying to push is that instead of drawing 10 ones, scholars can simply regroup them. And I'm going to show what that looks like. When I regroup, I know that the 10 stick that we spoke about earlier has 10 ones. So I'm going to count out my 10 ones in my dots chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I'm going to circle them. Now that I've circled my 10 dots, I'm going to draw an arrow and make it a stick. I want you really quickly to pause the video here and ask your scholar, why did Miss Safford circle the 10 dots and then put a stick? Your scholar should have said that Miss Safford was able to regroup, or Miss Safford knew that 10 ones make 10 ones make 1 10. So my first representation of the number 24 was only using dots. Now, I want you to pause the video here and ask your scholar what's another way that Miss Safford can represent the number 24 using sticks and dots for the second box. Your scholar most likely should have said Miss Safford can put 2 10 sticks that represent 20 and 4 dots that represent the ones place 4. Now, I want you to ask your scholar if there's still another way that Miss Safford could represent her number 24 using only sticks and dots. Your scholar may have said that Miss Safford can put 1 10 stick, which represents 10, and then 14 dots. 10 that represent 14 ones. Now, the most common way that scholars would probably represent the number 24 is with this problem, which is absolutely correct. However, when we're thinking about representing numbers in multiple different ways, we're really trying to push scholars to understand that numbers can be made up of different units. It's not always going to be 2 10s and 4 1s. And a good example that we've been using in class is the idea of someone buying a bag of Skittles with 10 Skittles and then single Skittles and having them try to regroup these numbers. This is something that's really, really challenging. From my experience teaching second grade, it's something that scholars tend to have a difficult time grasping. So I'm going to do another example or another activity to really show what scholars have to do in order to understand regrouping. The next part of our regrouping and what we've been learning in math is adding using different strategies. Again, this video is going to focus mainly on sticks and dots. However, there is another strategy called expanded notation that I will do in a separate video. But I really want to make sure that both you and your scholars are feeling really comfortable in the sticks and dots first before I move on to something else. So in this problem, we have 73 plus 21. Your scholar needs to be able to add these two numbers together. Now, at this point, your scholar may already know by mental math, or they may be struggling, but this is how sticks and dots helps them. So I want you to pause the video here and just ask your child, what should Miss Safford do in order to add these two numbers together? Your scholar should have said that Miss Safford should first draw 7 10s to represent the 70 and 73, and then 3 1s to represent the 3 in the ones place. And then she should have drawn 2 10s to represent the 20 and 1 1 to represent the ones place. Next, I want you to ask your scholar, what should Miss Safford do now? Your scholar should have said that Miss Safford should have counted all of the 10s first and then the ones. So let's count the 10s first. Oh, pause. Let me have you and your scholar count the 10s first and then tell me what you think the number is, and then we'll do it together. Do you have an answer in your head? All right, so let's count it together and see if our answer matches. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Now you may be wondering, wait, why did Miss Safford continue counting 80 and 90? Your scholar should be able to tell you that Miss Safford counted all of her 10s first just to make it easier to keep up with her numbers. Now I'm going to move on to my ones. One thing that we've really been pushing with the kids in our class is that if we're already at 90 with our 10s place, we don't need to start over at 1. We should continue counting on to make our counting more efficient. So now let's keep counting on. 91, 92, 93, 94. So I have 90 plus my 4 1s gives me 94. This is what adding using sticks and dots should look like in the classroom and at any homework assignment that you see. Now, once again, there is another strategy called expanded notation, but I do think I'd want to wait before jumping into that video. It's something that we still haven't really mastered in our classroom. It's something that's still very new, and not all scholars are up to that level yet. And we want to make sure that your scholars are successful by introducing them to things that they can handle one step at a time. We will definitely be talking more about expanded notation tomorrow during our math lesson. I really hope that this video helped you a little bit with what regrouping looks like, when your child should be regrouping, and gave a little bit of insight on when you see your scholar using and drawing sticks and dots and what that means and what that represents. The key takeaway that we want to remember is that 10 1s is the same as 1 10. So instead of drawing, let me clear my board. Instead of drawing 10 1s, we can circle these and then regroup them into 1 10, just to make our counting way more efficient and have our time go a little bit easier. I really hope this video helped. Once again, please drop a comment if you have any other questions, comments, or concerns. Enjoy your night.